In this video, we're going to discuss how you can choose a good plugin for your website, and the plugin that we're going to use as an example today is WP Supercache. So there's a number of things that you probably want to check out before you go and install the plugin for your website, especially if it's one you haven't used before. One of the first things I recommend you look at are the authors or author of the plugin. We can see that this one's got two, and we can see that this individual here, Donchar, has 20 plugins in total uploaded to the WordPress plugin repository, which is wonderful. Obviously, if you can see that someone has a number of plugins, then you can rest assured that they are relatively experienced. From here, we can also click on the author's profile and get an idea of how active they are on the WordPress forums, and we can also see the plugins that they've uploaded. So over here on the left hand side, we can see that this author is actively replying to threads on the WordPress support forums, which is a fantastic indicator that if you run into trouble that you're going to get some help. And we can also see the types of plugin that this person is actually using and creating. So that's just one thing you want to look at. Something else you'd really be well off to consider is the compatibility of the plugin, and up the top you can see that it's only listed to 3.0 or higher but compatible up to 3.6.1. And that might trigger some alarm bells to ring, but what you can actually do is scroll down and there's a little compatibility area here, and this is all user driven. So you can see it says that 18 people say it works and one person says that it's broken, and that's using WordPress 3.8.1 and version 1.4 of the plugin. And naturally, if you're using an older version of the plugin, or you would like to for some reason, or if there are constraints on the WordPress version you're using, and maybe you're using 3.6.1 or 3.7.1, you can see that people are actually actively using that, and for the most part it works. There are very few people saying that it does not. Then another thing that's very, very important to check is the plugin updates, and if we go back up to the top, we can see that this plugin was last updated on the 4th of the 11th 2013. And that's, well, it's a little while ago, it's a few months ago, but we need to appreciate that these plugins are free, and they are not paid for, and the author does not necessarily receive an income for doing it. And if you're a little bit worried about that, you can always just go down and see that it's compatible with your version of WordPress, so 3.8.1, which is always a good sign, because generally speaking, plugins per major version of WordPress that gets released probably don't need a great deal of revision, depending on how massive of an overhaul the new version is. Another good indicator of the plugin and its popularity is the number of downloads, and you can see here this plugin's got over 5.5 million downloads, which is a phenomenal amount. And it's, especially when there's almost 30,000 plugins available on the plugin repository, all of the better plugins are definitely going to be the ones that are downloaded most often. Something else that can be very handy when choosing a plugin to check out is the ratings, and we can see that WP Supercache is well rated. It has an average of 4.2 out of 5 stars. Most of those reviews are indeed 5 stars, but there are a few 1-star reviews, and if you're a little bit dubious on the rating, it can be handy to go and check what those 1-star reviews are, because not always is the reason a plugin receives a 1-star review the fault of the plugin. It can be a user error, or it can be a problem with their particular setup. So, just always make sure you think about that when you're actually going and choosing a plugin. Finally, one of the last things that is pretty handy to check out is the support offered for the plugin. And if we go down here on the right hand side, you can see that 4 of 132 support threads have been resolved in the last 2 months. And really that's, in terms of the number, that's pretty poor. That's a pretty bad number to have. But if you go and view the support forum, we can actually see here that this author is quite active in trying to resolve issues that users are having. So, always consider that as well. Make sure you take a look, and in doing all of these, you'll make sure that whenever you do install a plugin, that you're going to make the right choice, and hopefully you won't have any problems with it.